Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Here we are. Okay, this is the CAD Swiss. We had an alert earlier, and I did take that trade. I'm only up a couple pips right now, but a couple of things I liked about this one. As I was going through my charts this morning, I found something that was rather interesting, which I haven't really paid much attention to in the past, and that was since I'm not usually up during the London session. But here's where the London session starts over here. Can everybody see my charts okay? I just want to make sure everyone's seeing it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Here's where the London session starts. And then, so as I was setting my charts up, I was just making taking the highs and lows from the overnight session before it comes to the money zone. This is one of the techniques that we use especially for the London session. You just put a line just above the bodies, not the wicks, but just to the bodies, the high and low bodies. And then when you get to the money zone, you'll see the first breakout. In this case, it actually didn't really work very well. It broke out of the money zone. This is the first, well, actually, yeah, it broke out of this bottom line, broke out, but it came right up and just, it kind of rejected it, which normally it works a lot better than that. It usually just keeps on going. In this case, it came back and then went up and it closed out, and that's where we got the up arrow. So it did actually break this range between the overnight session. It broke the range with the up arrow. So I decided to take that trade. And my target is, again, 20 pips to the upside. My stop is 40 pips to the downside. And we also have, you can see we have a little wedge right up here. Here's the low that broke out. This was a head fake right here, came back up and actually cleared out just about the 20 pips off of where the breakout was. But then we got another little option here. And anyway, you have another little retest of this wedge. We have a high, a low, a higher low, lower high. It's actually forming its own little wedge again. But anyway, we're taking it, seeing what we can get for this trade. And it is in an uptrend, I believe we're strong, fairly strong uptrend. We have our moving averages all in the right direction. And so our target is no real close target that I can see right now. And we are on the 15-minute chart. And so that's where we are, just waiting to see if we can get our 20 pips out of that one. The other one was New Zealand Swiss. That's this one right here. And there again, it was the same type of situation where we had, this was actually the entry. When I got the arrow, we had the entry, didn't quite break this top zone, but once I started seeing where it was pulling back and I had the uptrend as I was drawing this thing out, I saw room to the upside, so I took this one as well. So then we'll see how these play out. We have the strength of the New Zealand Swiss. If we look at our strength meter, the New Zealand is relatively strong compared to a lot of the other currencies. So we're taking it to the strength of the New Zealand. The Swiss is all the way down here. New Zealand strong on all 4 time frames. Swiss is weaker on the lower time frame, so that gives me room that it is going in the right direction, and we'll just see if we can get our 20 pips out of it. If not, we'll cut it a little bit shorter and take what we can get. And let's see, Aussie, New Zealand, looks like we just got one of those. Actually, I think that's the one we looked at and it wasn't quite ready yet. I think that one was going in the wrong direction. Aussie, New Zealand. Yeah, this is the one we had. Again, here is our overnight range. I have the overnight range. Here's where the London session started. Now, technically what we'll do is we'll put this down here to the highs of the bodies during the overnight session. I'll just move that line there. This is the body of the lows of the So basically, this is a range that it's in. We're waiting for it to break the money zone out past one of these ranges. Now you see this nice big green area right here. Now this isn't a downtrend, but it's not what I would call a real strong downtrend because there's only 2 bars at the top, 1 bar on the bottom. And it seems like it's been pretty well range bound. What I'm looking to see possibly happening is maybe get sort of like a bank induction move where we come down, bounce, comes up. The question will be is if we'll have enough room between these 2 zones to be able to take a trade. And I'm not sure we will. If we measure this out from here to the bottom, well, that's 37 pips. So actually there is enough room. So if we can get a good bounce and a reasonable entry, we could possibly get our 20 pips to the upside. It is bouncing right off of this 200 moving average. It's still in a downtrend right now, as we can see, but we're also looking to where this thing could be starting to come into a zone that we need to find out where, if it breaks through the bottom, where's the trade going on this one. So I'm going to go over to my trading view charts so I can then look at this one a little bit closer, Aussie New Zealand. And I'll move my trading view chart over here. We'll take a look at it. Let's get this all off here just so we can just see what we're looking at. Let's look at our 15-minute chart, and we're going to see where and you see it's in a downtrend, which is what we've determined. And here's where there was a green zone right here. I'm looking over to the left, and I see the strong move up here with these straight blue candles just going straight on up. The origin of that's going to be right down here. So if it is in a downtrend and it does break through that green zone, this is the target we're going to be looking at right here. I like the wicks, just putting the wicks on to the bodies. And I'm looking to see where there's another, we had a strong move up, it pulled back, there's a little wick right here. But this will be the target to the downside, and then to the upside, we have this rejection. Here's the top. I say that we're looking at, here's where it bounced right off the 200 moving average. Come over here, find the wick. Find where it was rejected, right about here, that's the body. Came right up, so next time, so right now, this is our new range right now. We have to see if it's going to break through that. Let's see, we had a green zone right down here. And that's right at the, price-wise, this thing is right at, I can move this thing down. Right between the 106.83 and 106.98. Let me mark those. 106. Something doesn't look right. Aussie New Zealand 106. Oh, that'd be right, yeah. $106.83, 106.83 is right about there, and 106.98. $98 would be right about there. So it puts us right into that zone. This is where, so basically if it comes down, it could come down right into that area. Now the question, would there be 20 pips to that zone to take that thing short with that zone in the, this is where the zone is. I don't know that we have that much room. Let me see. Well, you only have 13 pips to the top of this, 13, 15 pips. So you don't have a lot of room to the downside. I'd say we're looking at it coming down, bouncing, and maybe giving us another chance to maybe retest this area. But everything's starting to move in the down direction. But if this breaks, then we this would be the area that we'd be looking at for, and just not that much room there. If this breaks, it's going to come down lower. And then if this breaks from this area, it'd probably be looking for quite a ways over to the other side. we're going to go way over to a long way over there. Here's the next zone right here. Oops, where to go? And let's see. So we have lots of wicks. Here's a wick, comes back down, wicks. This wicks all the way along down here. This is, I mean, there's a lot of, there's really no bodies until you get down to the, right down this level right here. So this would be the area that, if it, but it's going to be, it's not going to be a clear shot because you have all this extra buying power coming out. All these wicks are saying the buyers are starting to come back in. Buyers are coming back in. So there's probably buyers here, here, here. It's not going to be a straight shot coming down. Not like if it breaks and then just a clear shot. But right now, this would be, don't really like the trade that well for multiple reasons here. But if it's right now, it seems to be somewhat range bound. And so we'll just sort of work out with that direction. Any questions?
There's one in the Q&A. Al, there's one in the Q&A about the Euro Aussie 15
yeah,
minute.
let me see. Euro 15-minute, Euro Aussie. Let's take a look at it. The Euro Aussie 15-minute, does it start a new market makers cycle? And well, let's see. First, let's see what the direction is. It looks like we're in a downtrend. I'm going to pull that back. We're in a downtrend, and here's our strong move down. Here's our W. Bounce, came down, bounce, arrow. Right here's the go on it. This arrow right. So right here would be we have the arrow. Here's the entry. The thing with this one was, the thing I didn't, well, actually, I'm not sure I took this one. I don't think I took this one. Euro. No, I didn't take this one. I would say this probably is true. It is market maker cycle. The thing I don't like about this is by the time we got, well, here was the entry with the bounce arrow to go. You had the 20 pips from 52.87 to 53.07. So the 20 pips is already taken, and then he came right up into this 200 moving average. Now the question will be, is it going to continue going up? And that one I don't really know for sure. Of course, I never know any of these things for sure, but I'm looking at a trend coming down from here. Now it did break that trend line. Actually, could probably take it to. Down to there. You can see that right here, there's the anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. Rejected. Came back up. Now we actually had a little wedge break up here. Now the question will be: will this be able to continue? We do have these little wicks over here that we'd have to be looking at, but this is our zone. I'd say that this is we may get another arrow. Right now, it looks pretty good all in all as far as a trade goes, but you're kind of out of the chute right now. You're you're in the middle of this zone between here and here. You're right in the middle of it. So this thing could come back down and retest. It could come back up. I don't like taking trades in the middle of ranges like this. If I were able to catch it down here, I would say it would have been good because you still would have had your 20 pips to your moving average. Problem is that probably would have been a contra trend trade because I think that we said this was going in the downtrend, so it would be contra trend. Let me just double check that. Yeah, let me get my arrow in there so I can remember what it is. Downtrend. It looks like it does look like there's room to the upside, but remember it is in the downtrend, and we do have everything pointing down. So I would not want to be taking it long at this point. The arrow moving average is moving up. This one's flattening out. I like to see this one get caught up. Actually, what I like to see is this thing come back down, retest this one. But I'd be more apt to be looking at this more of a retest to the downside, more so than, because you already had your three legs, leg 1, 2, 3, and I would see it possibly come down to retest this. So Right now, it's I would stay away from this one right now. This one would have been okay if you were able to catch it here off of the bounce. That would have been okay. You still would have been, you had enough room to your moving average, which would have been fine. It would have been somewhat contra trend, but it would have been more like the bank induction move that you were probably talking about. I don't know if that answers your question.
Excuse me, Al.
Yes.
Pepper was mentioning that we have U.S. news within probably 45 minutes now.
Oh.
And also, what he wanted to know kind of subsequent to the news related, do you stay out of news pairs completely, or do you try to be out before the news?
Depends what the news is. I usually try, if it's a non-farm payroll report on Fridays, the first Friday of every month, I try to be out of the out of anything that's U.S. based at that time. Other news sometimes, but if I have a choice of being out of it, I will. But also sometimes I'll also be aware if the news coming out, if I'm looking to see where the price is such that it's starting to maybe give me a really good entry with the news. Again, depends on the news. Most of the time I try and stay out of it, I think, for the most part. Just let the news happen, and about 30, 40 minutes later on, I'll come back in again.
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday. Yeah, see, that just didn't look right. I thought we already had that Thursday. We have orange folder, not that anything. The only thing I really pay a lot of attention to is usually the red folders. And right now for Thursday, the only red folder we have is New Zealand down here at 6:30 tonight. So that's going to be, that's not going to really affect us too much during the daytime here. So any news that I'm seeing today, unless you're trading the aftermarket to the London session, I wouldn't be too worried about any of this news in here. I would probably just ignore it pretty much. Again, a lot of times the charts will tell you what's going to happen. The non-farm payroll report is probably the one exception to where the charts will tell you what's going to happen, but usually oftentimes those reports are so violent when the reports come out that no matter what side of the chart you're on, you're going to get whipsawed into a stop out. Unless you have, if you do like a target shoot where you say, okay, if let's say there was a major report coming in, I might have at the very best, I would say I'll put a sell order up here. I may put a buy order down here. And if the news comes out, it may drive it on down to get me filled and come back up and get out. Or if the news goes the other way, it goes up, gets me filled and take my profit. But usually what I'll do is I'll keep my entries way on either side of the zones so that if the news happens, when it whipsaws around, it may just get me into a trade. But I try not to be in a trade because you usually have to have such a large stop to either side to keep you out of harm's way. You're better off just staying out of it. But it's nice to be aware of what the news is so that at least we know what pairs to be paying attention to. And that's about all I have about that one. Let's see. Cat Swiss. Let's see where the Cat Swiss is doing. We're still in that trade. Let's see if it's giving us any reason to reconsider our targets. Cat Swiss.
Before you switch over, Glad was saying on the MyFX book there are 7 red folders.
Okay, I guess I need to start getting that MyFX book.
Thank you, Glad.
Let me see if I can find MyFX book. I probably should start paying attention to that. And do you happen to know what pairs are affected by what time frame on MyFX book? I still don't have it up here.
I don't have that, but Pepper was mentioning that the jobless claims and GDP were red. They were 7:30 on the U.S. pairs. Gilad hasn't mentioned on the MyFX book yet.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to work on getting that up to start using that. Apparently, there's more news out there that's not showing up on Forex Factory, and it's not coming up on my other monitor here. If you have the link for that, where you get that news, put it in the chat box so I can take a look at it. If you anybody who has it.
Actually, Al,
Yeah.
when you have a moment, can you analyze the pound yen on the 15-minute? Apparently, there's an Asian breakout trade during the London session overnight, and Jacob is in drawdown since then. So he's just wondering your take on.
Were you long on that, or what direction were you on with that one?
Jacob?
Session. See the analysis of the pound yen 15-minute and drawdown.
Oh, he probably went short.
I'm guessing. Yeah. This would be, well, see, from the Asian session, I would be looking at.
Oh, no, he's long in that one, he said.
You're long that? Why are you in drawdown?
Yeah.
If you're long on that, see, here would be here's the overnight high. Here's the overnight low right here. Here's the Asian breakout right on this one. If you're in drawdown, there's not going to be a lot of drawdown. I can see this is the candle right here, the one that broke. I'll put it on here. This is the candle that broke the overnight trend. So if you got in here, I can see where you'd be in a little bit of drawdown. But right now, I'd say you're still okay. I mean, came on up. The question is, this zone probably wasn't there, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, looks like it probably just formed after he was in it.
Yeah. So here, and you're at 23 pips. Well, if you got in at the right time, you have gotten your 20 pip target. Or just, it may not have filled possibly, depending what the spread was. But that's 20 pips from the breakout.
So he says there was a resistance zone, so he got in at the top after the zone disappeared. Oh, okay.
Oh, there was a zone in here, I guess,
yes,
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then it formed another zone a little bit higher then. I think it's still, let's see, British yen. Let me see where we're at here. British yen they're both kind of weak, actually. The British is actually on the lower time frame, the British is getting stronger. So I think you're still going to be okay. You may want to, I would say if it gets up into this red zone, I might be thinking about getting out of it though. You could possibly get a breakout to the upside a little. It could possibly break this. If it does, we have a zone right here. So let's just see what price is that? That's about 150.42 British yen. Let's see, where's my other chart?
Then there's the moving average there too. If it closes under that, then I think it might be time to bail as well. Right?
Let's see. Hang on a second. Bridget, I'm going to pull up my trading view chart so I can get a little bit better picture of what's going on here. Everybody keep an eye on the alerts so we know where they are.
Yeah, we will.
Let's see. Right now we're at this. Yeah, boy. Let's see. Where is the target? There's the high right there. Let's go over to a daily chart. Nothing over there. How about a weekly chart? There we go. So here's our zone. Here's our wick right over here. Remember, price says memory. It has a very good memory. It's like an elephant. It never forgets where it was, even if it's 2 or 3 years ago. Here's the wick. This is where we are right now. I would say it's, I mean, this zone could be 150.87 to 150. It is a 50 pip zone right here. Let's see, we call this supply. Go to a 15-minute chart and take a little micro look at it. And we've got, you can see where it came on up. Here's where the high was. It came right, this is our zone. came up in the zone. Now it's coming up to retest it. I would say if it retests the 150.30, if you're profitable at that point, I'd be happy to take my profits at that point. Not saying it wouldn't go higher, but we have a nice little trend coming in. Here's the low, here's a high, here's a higher low, and here's our wedge, right like this. And you have another little, here's a high, lower high, lower high. Then we have a little bit of a slope in this one. Actually, we can probably take this, move it down about like that. So if it comes up here, I would say if it comes up and tags this line right up in here, it would be reasonable to, because here's an anchor, here's a hit. If you get the third hit, it may give you a little bit of a head fake in here and then come back down, or it may just keep on going. But more than likely, I would say it's going to come up here. Since this was the high, came up, this was rejected, so it had a lower high, and here would be the third hit. I would say I would be looking at getting down at least probably around the 150.28 area if you're already in that trade long. And I do think there's a good chance it's going to come up, break, come back down, retest the 200 moving average, which is going to be right about where, here's be the wedge break. It'd be this area right in here. Here's a low. Just where's my tool here? I just lost my, here we go, that's what I'm looking for. Here's the low. Here's the pivot low. So here's the anchor, here's a hit. If it breaks, it's probably going to come in. It would, as I would be moving this, I like moving it right to the body of these candles where, here's where it was rejected. This is the last price that was rejected. If it comes back in here, this could be a trap. It could be a trap up in there. So I'd be looking at this area as being a trap. And another trap up above. It's just getting tighter, and basically what's happening is it's getting tighter and tighter. I would be looking at where the B is, and I'd be looking at right about in here for the other trap to the upside. So I would say the price is going to be somewhat range bound between here and here. And that's, but I think you still could be profitable or get back to break even. I don't think it has a whole lot of upward potential right now. And I need to take this phone call real quick. Eva, could you take over? Let's be quick.
Sure. So did that answer your question okay, Jacob? Anybody else have any questions? No alerts yet.
Did we hear if there was any good moves on the London session with Nate last night? Anybody in the Nate call from last night?
I've got, okay, good, Jacob, good. That helped him. I got a question about the trading Bitcoin, if anybody's doing it. I'm just starting to learn how to do it with Arrow. What are the parameters? I understand that $100 is the target. Does that make $200 the stop loss then?
So Ava, I've seen some questions in the general chat with Nate, and he has not committed to any definitive parameters when trading Bitcoin like that. I've been typically, setting I've had some pretty good success lately with Bitcoin, but I've been really, just choosing my TP and stop loss based on zones and, moving averages. I haven't really locked in on a 50 100 or 100 200 when it comes to Bitcoin, just because it's such a crazy mover.
Well, yeah. Okay, well that kind of makes sense. Now, are you doing the BTC USD, like the
Yes.
Bitcoin? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do it. I mean, I primarily have been trading Ethereum USD and Bitcoin USD and a little Dash, a little Litecoin, a little Ripple, but mainly the big two.
Okay. Yeah.
Just following the trend, looking for dips and following the trend. I mean, the short term has actually been trending down lately, but I still have been going long more often than short because when it makes a move back up, man, it goes quick.
Yeah. Yeah. It does kind of jump in leaps and bounds, one way and then the other, you know.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. I had to take that phone call.
I've done, Ava, I did about 9,000 pips in the last 2 days. I was sort of focused on getting in that crypto club, so I was able to
Wow. Good for you.
take a couple good runs in the last couple of days. Yeah, not very big lot sizes because I like you, I'm still kind of getting used to the movements, but went
Yeah.
pretty well last couple of days.
That's great. That's great. Congrats on that.
Thanks.
That was with the cryptos, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to start getting my crypto stuff on these charts and start looking. And you're taking it with the arrow alerts and things like that. Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Okay. And what's your stop and targets on those?
That's what we were just talking
That's
about.
what we're just talking about.
Oh, because I was gone.
Talk to you after, Al, if you
Yeah.
want.
So Al, what I told Ava is I've been, just really determining both stop loss and TP based on the charts, the zones and moving averages and.
So you're just basically finding your own targets and stops is what you're doing, just based on price action.
I will tell you that more often than not, I feel like I'm sort of a 1-to-1 ratio. But I'm being careful. I just don't want to give away too much.
Right.
I was saying Ava, I was just trying to get enough pips to get into the crypto club was sort of my main goal the last few days. So.
All right. Well, good. Well, congratulations.
And Garvin just posted that weekends are the best time to trade the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh.
When Forex closes, I like the weekends and like the afternoons, after the London session closes and New York slowing down. Seems like there's a lot of movement in the afternoons too.
Well, the thing is, probably my guess is if you're trading on the weekends, is you're not trading against the professional trades. You're trading against the masses, I guess you could say, as opposed to the institutions.
Well, Mariska I'm sorry, not to cut anybody off. Mariska had just said in the chat that the last two arrows on Bitcoin were winners on 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can look at it right now. It was a classic bounce arrow go, double arrow, and both were winners. Yep, it's approaching a resistance zone now. But man, those were nice moves, Mariska.
Actually, Mariska, if you would like to move over as a panelist, we can move you over here. Unless you'd just like to be a fly on the wall today, that's up to you. We can always move you over if you would like.
Those two arrows, Ava, if you look at them, that's exactly what I've been sort of looking for. I was unfortunately still asleep during those arrows, but
yeah, look at that, eh?
Those are nice, huh?
Yeah, nice moves.
It's just a beautiful chart too. Just bounce arrow go.
Here's a good question. The brokers that are open on the weekends, I guess, because a lot of the normal brokers that we use don't trade on weekends. So I'm not sure what brokers are even available for.
Well, the ones I use are definitely open. I think any broker that's offering crypto has to be open on the weekends.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that answers that question.
Yeah. I know we're not supposed to say much about brokers, but I know the one that's very popular that's been talked about from Nate and Matt and everybody. That one's open all weekend for sure.
It's great because those of us that are somewhat addicts to trading, we'd always get so depressed when everything closed 12 o'clock on Friday. So now we've got all weekend, guys.
Yeah. And if you crypto will keep you awake too. That's for sure.
Good stuff. Okay, so I've got a couple of things from Edgar in the Q&A, Al. Okay. He's asking, what's your analysis of your GBP USD and the CAD Swiss, if possible? I'm assuming, Edgar, these are on the 15-minute charts. And could you give me more detail? You're in drawdown on the pound US. Is that in a long or a short?
Pound US. Pound US. Let me take a look at. Let's go with pound US first.
Okay.
Let's see, pound US. Here we go.
Thanks, CB, by the way.
So it looks like we are in a. This could be a nice little bounce. We have the bounce. Actually, it's bouncing off the 200 moving average. Everything's still up. This could be a nice little bank induction, actually. Let me see what the range is on this pound. The pound US, not a lot of range in between the two. I would say if we get an up arrow, I'd say it's a good trade. If I'd wait for the arrow, I'd be looking for a bounce to the arrow to the go on this one. Looks like there's plenty of room to the upside. I'd be yeah. We'll keep an eye on this one. In fact, I think that's what I had. But I would say if we can get I'd be looking at a close above this this blue line right here. If we can get a close above, we may get an arrow to get the upside. And that would give us lots of room for the 41.49 to 69, which is the 20 pips. So right now we could. Looks like there's this. I don't know, Charles. Do you think this is a bank induction move? Would you call that? We have the bounce, and then we have an up, nice little bounce right off of that.
Al, as I think he's releasing the bank induction full video today. I've watched one video. It could be, but I'm on a live call like this, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to call this one.
Yeah,
but I do like it to the upside.
It looks like it. I mean, the arrow is right on the zone, and you have some wicks, and now it's bouncing back up to the right direction. So it certainly looks like it might be.
The only thing I don't like is that the pound is weak to the dollar. So I would want to see a little bit more range on that. Now the pound is on the lower time frames. On the 5-minute chart, the pound is getting strength against the dollar, and that's probably where this little move that you're seeing right now happening. But I would be cautiously optimistic about this. Let's just say that. So because it's going to have to get through. It's going to have to get through this area. I would like to see it kind of get a. I'd like to see like this for. I like this for the target. And so if we can get 41.97, so 97 to 77. Yeah, I would say
that Edgar's in a short on this. He's not responding to me if he's short or long on this, but I'm assuming he's in a short and he's in drawdown on this one.
On the British US?
Yeah, that's why he was asking for you to have a look at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing bouncing off. If you're short, I would be thinking about getting out of it. This is a nice little drop. Well, actually, you have a little bit of a wedge here. If it closes above the blue line here, if we get a close and a green arrow, I'd be getting out of that thing because I think it's going to has more room to the upside. I just don't like the fact it bounced off this 200. When you get these bounces off this 200 moving average, that's usually pretty significant. That you're going to at least get a bounce off of it, and it's going to be a while before it actually breaks through to where it comes to a downtrend, because your blue arrow moving average is above, so that means it's still kind of in an uptrend over here. But yeah, I don't like this as a short right now.
Yeah, he's in a short. He just responded. Could you explain briefly what a bank induction is for those of us that don't know?
Well, I'll do my best to explain it. Basically, what happens is that the big institutions will drive a price down, and they'll find a level. Then they come back up, and then basically what they do is they're grabbing the market makers. The market makers are making the markets. So they're the ones that when you put a buy or sell in, they're taking the opposite position of your trade. So they need to get their profit too. So the banks say, we're going to bring it down here and then the market makers come down and say, okay, we're going to drive the price down to where the bank institutions put it. And that's where we're going to do all of our buys. And then we're going to start buying. And then as we go up, as we make profit, then we're going to we'll start selling to the buyers as they come on up. So the market makers are collecting their positions down here. That's what drove it down. They're collecting the positions with all these wicks. And there's not a lot of wicking here, but there is some. And so the market makers are picking up their buy orders. And now as they're coming on up, as they run the price up, who are they going to be selling? They got to sell it to somebody. So they're going to be selling to the novice buyers. And that's why when people start chasing it, it just makes the market makers happier because they're clearing out their profits. And then when they buy it up here, then they start selling and start driving the price down, and then they buy it back again. So so basically the bank induction, as best I can tell, is the prices are driven, the institutions drive it down, the market maker bring it back up, market makers come down, they take their positions, and then between the institutions and the market makers, they drive the price on up.
Okay, thank you.
That's about as best of the explanation I can have. Look, watch for strategy number 10 on the market maker move, and Nathan gives a nice little explanation on that. And what's the other one? Was a CAD Swiss we were looking at.
Yes, yes.
And actually, I'm in the CAD Swiss right now, so let's take a look at that. That's would be worthwhile.
Hey Al, while you're checking that out, Faye just wanted to know if what's the difference between scalping or day trading?
Scalping, you're just going for just a couple pips. Day trading, you're going for probably 10 or 20 pips. A scalper is basically, they're looking at just getting 5 or 10 pips out of the move, and they're out of there. They're usually on very low time frames, like a 1 minute or 5 minute chart. They're trying to get their spreads covered and then get a couple more pips. They take larger positions, perhaps, and with much tighter stops, and they just go and just grab a few pips and just keep doing that over and over and over again. A day trader is going to be taking pretty much 1 or 2 trades on a position. They're going to go for their like I consider myself being more of a day trader, where I'm trying to get in, get my 20 pips, and then I'm out of that position, and I look for the next one. But I'm not in there to try and do multiple trades in a day. I'm just trying to find a couple good ones, take it, and then be out. So scalping, you're basically looking for a lot less return, and you're just planning on doing it more and more frequently, much more high frequency trading, pretty much.
And this is just a reminder to everybody, if we can just put questions into the Q&A, because we just can't keep eye on everything in the chat, and I don't want to miss anybody's important questions. So thank you.
And so we're looking at the CAD Swiss. So we did have an alert on that. Here again, this was the overnight high. Here was the overnight body low. Here's where the London market came in. Now this, I said, this was the one where it actually kind of broke the low. It gave us a little head fake. Now we do have a trend going in this direction, but we had it gave us a head fake, came back up, got us this nice little arrow right here. I entered the trade here, and I'm looking at my stop being. I'm perfectly happy having my stop being on the other side of this this zone that was formed. And if this was the entry, that's the 22 pips. So I have a little tighter stop on this. If it doesn't hit my target, or if I can't get profitable, I'll be out of it before it gets way down there. Right now we're in profit on this one. Here's the arrow, here's the entry, and actually probably did pretty much get close to that 20 pips. There's 17, 18, there's 21 pips right there. It didn't quite, it came right up to the target, didn't quite close it out, pulled back again. Now it's working its way back up again. So, but we do have we have a trend line from this zone here to the new zone. I show a trend line. Here's the anchor. Here's a hit. And we can continue this thing on. If I can draw this thing out. Now I'm going to keep that as the larger time frame. There was a pullback. Here was a rejection of that price, and now we have another high, a higher low. Has forming another little wedge up here, and we'll just have to wait and see if it can come up. You have these wicks right now, so right now it came up, and it hasn't closed out into there's some sellers right up in this area, so going to be a little bit careful with that as far as possible. This may have to lower my target expectations since we had a rejection off of that. We have here's a high, and we don't really have the total rejection yet, so I'm going to keep that still open, but I'll be trying to get out. If it comes back up into this area, I'll be out of this trade if I don't miss it.
Excuse me, Al, you had asked earlier for people to put in the chat the link for my FX
Oh,
book.
yeah.
And you did get that. 2 people were gracious
Oh,
enough to
great,
put that
thank
up.
you. I mean, I'll look through it's in the chat box.
Yes, it is. Gilad and Pepper put it in.
Let me see if I can find it here.
And Gilad, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Everybody's name's important.
I'm looking for it.
Maybe if they were to put it in the Q&A.
Oh, here it is. I see it. I see it here. There we go. I'll mark this in my files here so I don't forget where it is. Hang on just a second. Boy Prime, what is this one? Okay, yep, here's the calendar. So let's take a look at that while we're having a little bit of time here. This is what we're looking. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And so here we go. We have, where's the date today? Today. So here's some red folder here. So this is February 25th, which is where we are. This is lots of news on the, let's see, time left 11 minutes before these are in play here. So we may be careful with any US pairs. And that's the main ones that I'm seeing right here. And that was what's the time on this one? Time left 11 minutes. Oh, at 8:30. Okay, yeah. So, lots of red folders on the US pairs. So let's be careful with that. Oh, what happened? There it is. It's back again. And let's see, we have also had a New Zealand Swiss trade that I was looking at here. Let's take a look at that one while we're here.
We also have a request for your analysis on the pound New Zealand when you have a moment.
Okay. Right now we have a little bit of a pullback on this, but right now we're still in the okay direction on this one. Got in, had some nice little moves up, and it's pulling back to retest it. So this is where this is why a lot of times I just like getting into trade, take my profits and being done, so I don't have to be worrying about this. I don't have to spend all this time thinking about it. Pound New Zealand we're looking at here.
What is it you call that? Emotional inventory?
An emotional inventory.
That's what it is.
It's one of those alisms.
That's
Yeah.
one of my alisms, yep.
Like BTE.
Save the emotional inventory. Well, let's see. We're in a downtrend. We still have a nice red zone here, still there. At my down arrow. And so we are getting a bounce off of this. And let's see. We don't want to be taking, I don't particularly want to be taking it long. I'd be more apt to be seeing if this thing's going to break to the bottom and then look what the zone may be. There's our down arrow. So, yeah, I don't like, actually it's starting to form a W. Here's the first leg of the W. Here's the middle of the W. We have a little bit of a divergence. I'm not sure if this is divergence or not. I have to take a look at a different chart. We could possibly be getting a nice little push up. This would be contra trend. We are in the contra trend zone, so we'd be able to do that. Let's see what the 5 minute looks like on this one. I don't know if we have enough room to the red zone on this. Is that 54 pips? That's a lot bigger than it looks like. Yeah, it is. That's 50 pips. There is room to the upside on this on a 5 minute. If we get an arrow, we might have a trade. We have our 200 moving average right up here, right at the top of the zone. This would be a contra trend, but it's within the reasonable expectations of the market. Let's go back to our 15 minute and we'll plan it accordingly. Right now, I don't see any zones in between here, so there's your 20 pips. I don't like seeing this thing slot pointing down or this one pointing down and trying to take it contra. We had a nice, here is already tested it. So we actually have a little trend line from here to here. So it's going to have to break, it's going to have to break this trend line for me to be pleased with it. And then at that point, you would probably still have enough room from 24 to 44. See that? Yeah, if it breaks this trend line, you could use this for a target on this one. Contra trend. I might be willing to take just 10 or 15 pips rather than the 20, because it is in a downtrend.
Garvin is saying it's the 15 minute is in a bullish divergence.
Hang on just a second. Eva, could you take the phone again? Take it, please. I'll be right back.
Okay. CB, can you have a quick look? Do you have your charts up that you can see if it's the divergence part?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody, just so you know, when Al asks Ava to take over, we can't change his chart to look into other things. So,
Well, I can
or
put
Ava.
my charts up. I can put my charts up if you guys need, if we're going to be looking at something
Okay,
different.
I'm back.
Yeah, he's not on the
we have car issues and talking to car mechanics trying to get cars done so we can get. That's what this is all about. So sorry about that, everybody.
No worries.
Anyway, okay, so where are we at now? So we have.
Yeah, CB's looking into the counter trend, that like the bullish divergence that Garvin was saying.
That was on the. Which pair was that again?
This one here, the pound Aussie or pound New Zealand.
Pound New Zealand. Okay, let me get that on. I need to get that on a different chart so I can see.
It is a new low into the support, but let's let Al look at it.
Pound New Zealand we're looking at here. Okay, let me. Pound New Zealand. All right, let me take this over here. Okay. And so we're looking at our 15-minute chart, looking to see what we're in a downward direction. Here's a high. Here's a range here's the range that I'm looking at right here. Just eyeballing the end. Here's the high of it. Here's the low of the range. We did get the break. We did get a little wick down. Now the question is, do we have? Pound is getting stronger. I don't have my RSI on here, but I would say, yeah, I do have a little bit of divergence here. You had a lower low with you have a little. The strength is actually it's less. I should say that it was the strength was weak here. Was actually even you had a lower low, but the strength was actually higher. Was higher. If you look at these, you really can't see it too well with this, but if you have the low, and then you have look at this blue line right here. If you look at the blue line, this is where you see what the divergence is. So we can find you have a low here, and then you have a higher low. It has a little bit of a slope up here like that, and then you have a low here with a lower low, which actually, and so the divergence factor is that you have a low. Let's see if I can draw this, get this tool here. There we go. You have a low with a lower low, but your strength is low with a less of a downward strength. Now starting to gain some strength. So this is where a lot of times they'll drive the price down, get everybody sucked in to go to this is where a lot of times you'll see that reversal pattern where you get a divergence. And so right now and we did break this low. So if we click over here, and a low here, and a low here, at that little wick, and now, but right now everything's still in a downward trend. I'm not ready to take this thing long. I'd like to see this thing because you've got a trend here. This is why I just don't really like taking contra trend trades, because you're really fighting the battle upstream. But I want to see some crossing of these moving averages, especially on your lower time frame. Let me just get some moving averages on this if I can. So I'm on my 1 minute chart. Now we do have the moving averages crossing over. We have our 62 moving average on the 1 minute. All the moving averages are in the right direction. We could use this for a target. Now the question is, if you'd want to take this trade, this would be your target. This is the upper target, and that would be 21 pips. So that's actually doable. That's actually doable. It's a contra trend trade. It's not an arrow trade, but it would be doable if you wanted to take the risk on it. I'm not inclined to do so. And that's all I can say about that one. It's in a downtrend. You're getting a bounce off. I'd be looking at maybe a retest of this area up here. I'd like to see it get up a little bit higher here and then have it come down. It's doable, but I want to see it break this downward trend first, then hit this for a target. If you start seeing that the British pound starts getting a little bit more momentum, you could probably pull that one off. But an up arrow might do it. If you get the bounce with an arrow, you could probably do a contra trend. I'd wait for an arrow on that one. Next question. Any other questions? And how much time do we have here? About 30 minutes still. Okay. Time's good.
Time's good.
Time's good.
It's kind of slow. I've not really been getting any alerts.
Yeah, I had a few of them this morning earlier. One's proper, one's still hanging in there. That CAD Swiss has been up and down quite a bit. I usually like it when I don't like being in trades much more than about, once I get into the trade, if it's going to materialize, usually I find oftentimes I can get my target within about, on a good day, 20 minutes, and on a slow day, in a couple hours. But when we were doing the wedge alerts with the iris alert, we were looking with a 10 pip stop and a 7 pip target. We were in and out usually within about 20 minutes of the trade. And that was kind of nice.
I've got a request, since we're in a bit of a lull. If you can do an analysis on gold in the Euro-Oz.
Gold. Gold in the Euro-Aussie gold. Let's see. Let's go with the Euro-Aussie first. There's my charts. Come on. Euro Aussie. Okay, Euro Aussie. This is, we've already talked, I think we've already talked about this one. We're in a downtrend, contra trend. It's breaking through the moving average. We have a arrow here.
The question is,
you're a little bit, it's a little bit out of the chute, but if you want, there's still a target up here for more of a swing type of trade. Would I take it? I don't like taking trades when it's just bouncing off at the top here, when knowing that this one's, I'd be more apt to wait for it to pull back. What I like with this one would be, you had the pass. Actually, this one's already, you had the pass, came back and checked the trend line. If you were able to catch it back here, or if it, well, I would just say this, if you get this was a pass and check type of thing, where it crossed over the 200 moving average, broke the trend line. Here's our trend line. Here's our anchor, hit, here's a hit, here's a hit. It broke it, came back down, retested the trend line. And now if it can break above, there's some buyers, sellers that came in here. But right now, this thing could very well, I would say you could take it on a long off that bounce.
Hey, Al,
I would keep a fairly tight stop on that one. Yes, Charles.
There's also a resistance zone form now right there at price for the 5 minute. So it may be,
5 minute.
there might be the 15 minute might create a new red zone there in a little bit.
Yeah, there we go. And this is the thing that you gotta be careful of when you start chasing trades.
This actually could end up being a short position here a little later.
Yeah, so it had the break, came back up, retested it, but now we also have this thing. You see how we have this moving average still pointing up. We had a new zone that formed. So there's basically the sellers came in up here. That goes all the way back to off to the left of the chart, and you can see it's pulling back now. So I would be waiting for a pullback, maybe to the blue line, and then maybe take it. But I would have my stop. I would keep my stop. I would keep my stop below this low here. I wouldn't use a 40 pip stop on this.
You're talking about going long, right, Al?
If you go long, I would try to get back in somewhere around in this area. I'd be looking at this for a target, but it's going to have to get through that zone. I mean, if it can break through this, if there's enough strength, it could break through that. But I would want to keep my stop below the 200 moving average. It was already tested, and so I would want to keep it. And then from that standpoint, you're looking at from here to here. Let's looking at see, that's 27 pip. You could use a 27 pip stop as opposed to a 40 pip stop, but you expect to take some heat through this area. But there would be enough room to this area. This would be sort of like a level on a level. If this thing can break through, then this would be the target. But it's got to get through this first. I'm not thrilled about the trade for a long on that one, because you are in a downtrend. Don't forget that. Again, you want to always keep the wind to your back. You want to keep the strength to your back. But right now you've got a zone right here. This is a 5 minute zone. But if that can break, you've got this would probably be the next area. I'd be looking at this area right here. Here's the strong move down, no wicks in here. It came up, so I would say this would probably be a reasonable target between here and I'll say pretty much in this area right in here. So if you can get enough to make it worth your while, I'd say at least as Charles was saying, a 1-to-1. So if this is your target, and this is your entry, there's 16 pips. I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to use a 40 pip stop only for a 16 pip target.
And what are the chances of gold going up?
Then gold. Let's see what gold's doing here. Yeah, let's look at it on a 15 minute. Let's see what we got here. Let me put a different chart up. Let me update my chart here.
We trade gold on the 5 minute typically, right?
Yeah, normally the 5 minute. I just want to at least see what kind of a direction it is. It's still in a pretty strong downtrend right now.
Yep.
5 minute.
There is some support down there in the 15 minute though.
Yeah, we have a zone right here. It's in a downtrend. There again, we are in the zone for contra trend reversal zone. If we can get a bounce off of here, maybe we want to take it up to these are still kind of pointing down. I probably wouldn't take it more than to the I'd want to have at least $5. Use $5 and $10, $5 target, $10 stop. I would be looking at this as being a target zone, and that would be from 87 to 82, we'd be looking at 82. So I'd say if you could get a bounce off of that, say around 80, somewhere between 82, 1782, let's call it that. Open 1782. And a target of 1787.
My chart doesn't have that support down there like yours does.
It doesn't have that?
No.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I would be more apt to take it short if it comes up to the 87 area, take it short, and then using the zone as a target. You don't have that, huh? I do like it very to the downside at this point. It's not quite ready to. I've been staying away from gold here lately just because I can't quite see a down arrow. So we have a down arrow here. There's a zone, and let's mark another zone to the upside here. Gold's been kind of all over the place here lately, as has been the NASDAQ and the S&P.
Mm-hmm.
So I consider it to be somewhat range bound. I'd be more apt to be a seller up here, and maybe if you get the right, I'd be more apt to wait for it to come up and sell it, or up to this to the moving averages, somewhere in this zone right here, maybe sell, and then just go for your $5 and be out of it again.
Yeah, there was some comments in the chat earlier that people overnight with Nate were positive on the gold. I mean, in the sense that they won on the gold. They were able to take profits overnight when they worked on it.
Yeah.
Maybe that first downward arrow there in the money zone.
Oh, let me go back here again.
Yeah, I think so too, Charles.
Let's see. They probably did the overnight breakout. If you have, let me see. Where's my blue line here? These overnight moves are really pretty good. I'm just not much to being up at 2 o'clock in the morning if I got to be up here for 7:30.
It's time for us to move to Europe.
Yeah, yeah, that would be
Italy,
the
here
option.
I come.
We'll get a trading house together, all of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the money zone. Here's where the money zone starts. Let me back it up just a little bit here, and then we had the overnight low. I'll just move these up here. And here was the breakout of, it entered the money zone, broke out, and then it came on down. But now you're looking at, and this was a target down here. You can see this was always still over. This was formed way over off to the left. This was the target. So we're just pretty much hitting the target. So that would have been a nice little move to the downside. Now the question is, you're kind of in the middle of everything. Now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to wait? Is it going to break through here, or is it going to come back up? You don't know. But the fact it did have such a nice move, basically London session drove it down. The New York session will probably come in and maybe start driving it back up again. Looks like my CAD Swiss trade is about ready to take profit here. It's back in the green area, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Take that one off and see. Now we have the New Zealand Swiss. I'm gonna keep this one on for right now. See if it hits my target. And New Zealand Swiss. Take a look at that one. That one seems to be in a little bit of a drawdown. Still well within reason. We're still in an uptrend. Never really taken a lot of heat on it, but we did. Here was the entry over here off the arrow. Didn't quite give us our 20 pips. I'll be watching this thing to make sure that, or not to make sure, but to keep an eye on, here's a high, here's a low, here's a low, here's a high, here's a higher low, lower high. So right now, here's our wedge right in here. And here is the low, and here's the other side of the wedge. As long as it stays inside that, I'm not going to worry about it. As long as it stays above this, I'm not going to worry about it. If it breaks to the upside, I'll be probably trying to take my profits somewhere up in this zone. Even if it's not to my target zone, I'll probably still try and, if it's rejected here, I'm not going to let it reject it a second time. So just keep an eye on that. Right now, it's nothing to be too concerned. It's inside. It's making higher highs and the lower highs and higher lows. If it breaks out, this could be the trap area, because here's our last level of support. If it breaks through here, it's either, if it breaks through that and keeps on going, then I'll probably be getting out of this thing. Then it could come down and retest this moving average, and then I don't want to be. I'd rather get out sooner, have it come down, retest that, and get a better position to take it long again. But we'll see.
Al, question for you about your blue and yellow lines. Are those the overnight highs and lows?
The blue, basically, well, the blue line, basically, I just use the blue line as my entry. I was just using that as a reference just to, so I didn't have to make any more lines than I have to. But basically, this is the overnight. This is where the body of here's the overnight, the new day. Here's the highest body of the candle till the money zone, which is the blue line, blue vertical line. And then I just picked a random color here. These are basically just my entry, stop, and target zones. I'm kind of double using the lines. I'm just looking for the range. Here's the money zone. It really hasn't broke. It didn't break out of the bottom here. It did clear out the top. It did come in and retest it. I do see this as somewhat of a upward. It's still in an upward channel. We still have green bars. It's still hanging above the blue moving average. So I'm just being patient with it. Just being patient with this one. But but the main thing is just to know that you have the money, the daybreak, the bodies, the highest body, the lowest body. Now, as long as this range is less than 50 pips, you're good. If this range is more than 50 pips, all bets are off. But once the day enters the money zone, and you get the break of either the top line or the bottom line, then you can take the trade and go for your 20 pips or the next zone. Now, this one, there probably wasn't a zone up here. It came up here and made a zone. In fact, this zone just kind of popped in there. So again, I'd be looking at either trying to get out to break even or just getting up to, I may lower my stop on this one to maybe this area right in here, just to see if it can get out of this trade, because I don't want to be trying to get through that right now. Let's just move that down. And there's change my target on that. Any questions there? And check out my cat Swiss, see if there's any new targets on that one. Now we have a new zone right here. So there again, I think I might be willing to take the profit off of this. I'm just going to take this one off. It's up into red zone. I really don't want to fight that. I've got 10 pips of profit. I'm going to take my profit off of that. I'm happy with that. Put some money in the bank for the day. And now if I lose on this one, it'll help offset the loss if this one doesn't materialize. And that's what I do. I shoot for the 20 pips, but I'm not going to fight all day trying to get it. Now, if this zone breaks, then I may be able to re-enter. Now we have actually, I'm going to move these things off we know where our time is here. Let me move these a little bit further away here. I'll move these to the next day. I know we're already in the contra trend zone and we're about ready to get out of it. So I move these to 26. Move that one out of the way for right now. And we'll just see what happens with this. So we have, like I said, this is a little zone. The sellers came in here, drove it down. Now the question will be: is there enough sellers? Are there still some sell orders to drive it out further, or is this just going to be an anomaly where it's going to break through the top? If it breaks through the top of the CAD Swiss, I'll come over to my trading view chart. Look at CAD Swiss. It's in a 1 minute pullback right now. And let's see, go 4 hours. Actually, we're gonna have to go all the way to probably a daily or a weekly chart in order to find out where the tops of this thing is. Ooh, look at that. Okay, here's what I like seeing this as far as, oh, one, we have a 200 moving average right here coming down. Nice strong move down. There's a little bit of a wick over wick. That's right. It's just breaking through that zone. But once it gets through this zone, we've got this. I look to see where the trouble areas are, where the barriers are. This is a major bounce point. This is going to be a major bounce point. So I would be looking at another area. Here's the wick. Here's the body. And I'll use this whole little small little candle right here. I'll just use that whole candle right there. And this would be the next zone. If it breaks through, if it can close above here, it's probably going to challenge the moving average and also maybe challenge this area. So anywhere up in this area, I'd be looking at taking profits or using it as a target on this one. Now we're all the way to a weekly chart to find this area. This is all the way back in February of last year. Go to my 15-minute chart. There's lots of room to the upside here. It's in a relatively strong uptrend right now, but we are finding a little bit of a resistance right in here. But like I said, if it can break through that, this could be the next area, which is quite a ways away, actually. Yes, it seems to be. That's 100 pips. I definitely don't want to be taking this one short. I'd rather be looking at this thing on a longer time frame. No more new alerts here.
Just a NASDAQ just came through, but Mario is asking, he says, I know you don't really trade the Bitcoin, but was hoping to get your thoughts on BTC USD on the 1 hour for a fib buy. So I don't know if you wanted to analyze that on your trading view.
Yeah, I have to do that on trade. I don't have it on my other platform, Bitcoin. Let's see, Bitcoin. That's at 51 today. That's good for those of us who are long on Bitcoin. See, 1 hour. Well, here's the range that we're in right now. This was the high and the low. So here's our playground. Our playground I'm looking at right now is it looks like it's making this little, oh boy, let's see, what are we doing? What have we got here? We're getting some consolidation right now with our moving averages. Here's our 62. There's a 1 hour, actually that's not right. Show you my moving averages right here. Let's see. It looks like it wants to start heading back going up. I would be looking at this area for a target, and immediate target. Probably the 53 to 55 area. That'd be about right. If I look at the Fibonacci's, put this on a little higher time frame. Oops, wrong one. Put this on a daily. Yeah, right there. That was right at the Fibonacci level right here. These are daily. So here's a blue. This is a blue daily. That's a major area to me. Anything blue on the higher time frame is significant. This is a daily blue. Yeah, I'd be looking at it's got to get through this area. If I can get a close above the 5160, no, 51,650-ish. If we can get a close above that, the next target would be probably 54,000, 250, somewhere around there. I think it's got some upward potential now. Yeah, it's moving to the upside. Looks like the pullback. This was the pullback right here. Everything consolidated. Now it's working its way back up to the other zone. We could still get a little bit of action back in here, but I'd say basically it's working its way back up to the 53, 54 area.
That's good news, I'm sure.
Hopefully that answers your question. What happened to all of our alerts today?
There's not many coming in. Just one came through now, but that was for NASDAQ. I guess it's not volatile enough or something. I don't know.
So,
Excuse me, Al.
yes.
I think we have a few more minutes because we're 6 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So
Thank you.
session end. Deborah was asking on the EA. Can you look to see about a W in the 15-minute and 1 hour?
The Euro Aussie.
Yes.
Euro Aussie 15-minute.
I know we were only there not too long ago, but the question came after.
Euro Aussie, make sure I'm on the 15-minute. See, we're in a downtrend. I think I had a zone right there. I believe it's broken. Yeah, this is the one. So what was the question now?
If you saw W's in the 15-minute and the 1 hour.
I see a W here on the 15-minute. That's right. Here's the first leg of the W. Here's the middle of the W. Here's a retest. And then it's taking off. And then we have our W. Here's a V. Here's another V. It's probably going to be starting to look at forming an M. And actually, this could be a possible M right in here to the downside. Then the 1 hour. That's definitely your W right there. I would be looking at, again, I'd be looking for it to come on up to the red zone and form your M up in this area. I said there's room to the upside for, I'd say from a swing trading standpoint, it's probably a good chance this could be a good swing trade. I don't know if this is a good entry, but I think this is a good target for a swing trader. You also have this moving average coming down. You see where this came down, this came up, it couldn't cross, it went back down again. This thing could come up, maybe not cross again, and come back down again. This is contra. I'm looking at this being contra trend because it pushes to the downside. And that's about all I can say about that one here.
And I think we're just about out of time as well.
Any other questions? We'll wrap this thing up and give you folks time to get over to the other room if you choose to do so.
Thanks, Al.
Anyways, thank you, Charles. Thanks for your input. And I'll have to talk a little bit more about this Bitcoin and talk to you a little bit more about what you know about that and what you're using to make an analysis on it. As I've heard, I know Nathan talks about it at nighttime. I've only been in a session once, and it was pretty brutal for me the next day. So I'm not sure
I can relate.
how much I'll see that. But anyway, thanks again, everybody, for coming in. We appreciate having you, and we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, and it'll be pretty much what we'll try and do any trades that come up. But like today, we'll do some analysis and try to give you guys some information on some technical analysis. And with that, thanks again, and we will see you tomorrow.